Welcome back, survivor. If you can hear this, it means you're still alive. This is Jack's Nightmares, and this is your next story. I start my perimeter walk before first light because noise carries less and the infected wander less when the air is cool. I clip the radio to my belt, slip on the leather gloves, and check the battery on the headlamp without turning it on. The neighborhood is quiet. A sprinkler head we forgot to cap hisses near the curb, so I shut the valve and make a note on the clipboard. The list is getting long, and it is only morning. We reinforced the gate last night with a pickup truck and 2 sheets of welded rebar. The rebar came from a half-built house down the hill. We cut it with a saw we run from the generator during the 2-hour window after sundown. The engine noise brings the walking dead, so we do it fast, then go dark. 6 weeks in, we have a routine. Routines keep people focused when the rest of the world is falling apart. I keep repeating that when someone starts to spiral. It helps, until it does not. I step past the first driveway. The floodlight over the garage is dead. I put a hash next to Bulb's Rick's place. I test the tension on the tripwire we strung between mailboxes. The fishing line is taut, bottles hanging low, and spaced every 10 feet, filled with pebbles. If something walks through in the night, the rattling wakes the dogs and the night watch. I move to the corner where we stacked concrete planters. The planters are full of dirt and junk hardware. They look like landscaping, but you would need a small excavator to move them. We rolled them here with 4 people and a pry bar until my hands felt like someone ran a rasp over the skin. The street bends toward the gate. Past it, the city is a smear of smoke on the horizon. I can smell char when the wind changes. You do not get used to it. You just accept it. At the gate, I scan beyond the barricade. The sport utility vehicle nose we shoved through the bars yesterday is still wedged against the post. We chained the frame to the support and tied the chain with a padlock we found in someone's garage. The front windshield is cracked from the last push when we rammed it into place. 2 bodies lie 30 yards out near the weeds. 1 face down, 1 on a side. The ground around them is black from dried fluids. No movement. I do not approach. I mark the distance on the board and add, drag line when sun is high. Sun bakes the worst of the risk down. It does not erase it, but it helps. Perimeter, north clear. I speak into the radio. My voice sounds steady. That is important. If I sound steady, the rest of the team breathes easier. The radio clicks, and Luz answers from the pool gate. She says the south fence is fine, tarps holding, and the chlorine levels are okay. She has a way of making chlorine sound like a friend. We use the pool as storage now. The water is covered with 2 blue tarps. Under the tarps float sealed bins with rice and beans, and a few medkits that would not fit anywhere else. We tied the bins with rope to the ladder rails, so a kid cannot drag one to the deep end as a joke. We do not have room for jokes. I cut through a side yard and check the back fence. It is a patchwork of wood panels, sleds, and an old trampoline frame, wired together with a lot of hope. A raccoon tried to get through last night near the compost pile and stuck its paw between slats. It chewed the fur raw and left claw marks. I pushed the slats closer and wrapped the weak spot with wire. You learn to fix things with whatever you have. We ran out of proper brackets around week 2. Now it is wire, duct tape, and drilled holes. Not pretty, but it holds. When I step onto the cul-de-sac again, a garage door halfway down is open a foot. That is not on the list. I approach sideways and tap the concrete twice with my boot. Inside, someone whispers my name. I recognize the voice. Finn, the teenager who spends more time at the radio bench than at his own house. He pushes the door up from the inside and squints through the gap. He looks thinner than last week. He wears a bike helmet with a flashlight taped to the top. The tape frayed, and the light points at the ceiling. He smiles anyway. Power hiccup, Finn says. The battery took a hit. I can still get the hand crank set going. Someone is broadcasting a schedule on 7.750 megahertz after sundown. Short bursts. Sounds close. His words spill out fast. He lives for radios. He has a stacked shelf of scavenged parts. Old tuners, pocket radios, wires stripped from holiday lights. He says he needs new fuses and a small clamp. I note it. We have a 3-house rule. Ask for what you need, list it, and someone within 3 houses tries to find it before nightfall. It keeps people talking. Isolation grew mold faster than food did in week 1. Meet at roll call, I tell him, and eat something before you crash. He rolls his eyes but nods. He knows I will check. He knows I will make him eat in front of me if I have to. I pull the garage down and set the hook. The morning air warms. The city buzz outside the walls rises. I hear a shout from the med tent set up on the cul-de-sac green. It is not panic. It is Luz calling for fresh water. I jog over. The med tent is a patched canopy with a plastic sheet floor and 2 cots. One cot holds a boy wrapped in a thin blanket. His name is Hayden. He is 12. He has a stubborn cowlick and a serious look that makes him seem older until he asks dumb jokes to make his mother smile. There is dried red under his nose and on his upper lip. The sight punches through my morning calm. I do not show that. I set the jug down and watch Luz. She glances at me, just once, quick, then focuses on him again. She has latex gloves on, and a face shield we found in a storage bin from an old wood shop. The shield decal says, "Safety first" in a goofy font. The decal looks out of place here. It started last night, Hayden's mother says. He felt off after dinner, then he had a nosebleed. It stopped. Then it started again. Her voice is flat. She keeps dabbing his face with a clean cloth and dropping the used cloths into a sealed bag. She follows protocols. She knows the risk. Everyone knows the risk. We printed the symptom list on plywood and hung it at the gate. Nausea, vomiting, bleeding, changes in behavior. We wrote it big so no one can pretend they did not see it. Hayden stares at the tent roof. He looks past the plastic to the sky. He does not look scared. He looks bored. That is how kids hide fear. I crouch and ask what he ate last night. He says, canned peaches and a half bowl of rice. I run through other questions. Any falls? Any cuts? Any heavy lifting? He shakes his head. Luz asks for the time. I say it is a little after 7 in the morning. The radio crackles with the pool team's check-in. I answer, then click off. We moved suspected cases to the quarantine shed on the edge of the neighborhood last week. The shed used to hold lawn tools. We cleared it, bleached it, and lined the floor with plastic. It is not a hospital, but it is separate, and separation buys time. I suggest we move Hayden and keep him watched round the clock. Luz nods once. Hayden's mother nods after a pause that stretches long enough for me to hear a lawn flag whip in the wind. I hate this part. I grab a mask and a second shield. I double glove. I tell Hayden we are going to take a short ride in a wagon. He laughs at the word wagon. Good. Humor helps. We built the wagon from a sheet of plywood on wheelbarrow wheels. We wrapped a sleeping bag around the board so the kid does not scrape his heels. I pull. Luz pushes. She keeps her face steady behind the plastic. Hayden lies back and watches the clouds through the canopy roof as we move. His mother walks 10 steps behind us, hands jammed in her pockets as if pockets are safer than air. Neighbors come to their porch edges and stop. I hear a cutter chirp from the fence where 2 men are trimming back vines. The sound stops. Silence follows us down the driveway. We slide Hayden into the shed and seal the plastic flap. We show his mother the clear sight window we cut into the side. She can see him. He can see out. We have a camp light hanging from a hook, and a bucket, and a roll of heavy trash bags. We keep a binder there with the hours logged and a list of symptoms to check. It feels cold to hand someone a binder when her kid is inside a plastic box. Cold systems keep people from making frantic choices. I hold that line because I know what happens when the line gets fuzzy. People get hurt. Then more people get hurt. Before I can finish the checklist, the horn at the gate bleats twice. That is our signal for visitors. We hate that horn. The horn brings arguments like the sun brings heat. I hand the binder to Luz and jog to the gate. The horn bleats again. My stomach turns in the way it does when I know a test answer and have to wait to see if it matters. At the gate, 3 figures stand outside the barrier with their hands up. 2 adults and a teenager with a backpack. The adults look scorched by the sun and too skinny in the face. The teenager is wrapped in a hoodie even though the day is warm. I recognize the father, David from Maple Court. He lived at the far end before he left during week 1, when the television anchors still promised federal convoys. He told us we were paranoid. He had said he would head to his sister's place in the hills. Now he is here. He is sunburned and has a scrape on his cheekbone. He calls my name and says he is sorry. He says he made a mistake and that he should not have left. He says he brought tools and he will work. The mother looks at me without blinking. The teenager keeps his head down. I keep the gate shut. I talk through the bars. The rule is clear: quarantine or move on. He starts to speak over me. I raise a hand and wait. When he stops, I say it again: quarantine or move on. 4 days in the side yard of the end house. The old gazebo has screens on all sides. We feed them at the edge, masks on. We check vitals twice a day. If it is clean after 4 days, we talk. He says the roads are bad. He says his son is not doing well. He says please. I keep my voice level. I repeat the rule and point to the gazebo. I tell him we will walk him there with distance. He nods. The mother nods. The teenager does not look up. We walk them along the fence line. 2 volunteers shadow me with long sticks we use as distance markers. Looks stupid. Works great. As we settle the family in the gazebo, I call roll call for noon. We meet in the center of the neighborhood with chalk marks on the pavement to keep space between households. Someone brings a whiteboard. I grab the marker and write: food storage, gate reinforcement, water schedule, Hayden, visitors. The last word draws a ripple through the group. Folks glance at the gazebo. I raise a hand. I keep it simple. I say, we know the family. I say the rule stands. I say we will feed them and watch. I say any direct contact is a no. A few heads nod. A few jaws set hard. It is the same split every time. Luz steps forward, face shield up, and says she needs 2 more people for the evening round at the med tent. The whiteboard fills with names. People want to help. It keeps fear away for a while. Mid-afternoon drifts into chores. I show Finn the fuse box in a neighbor's garage. He grins like he won something and starts clipping. I walk the back fence again and fix another sag. I rotate the water barrels near the pool, roll them a quarter turn, and mark the lines with a marker so we can track levels. I step into the pantry garage and log the canned goods we found yesterday. Someone wrote peaches with a heart next to it on the box. That is fine. People need small relief. I catch myself staring at the heart for a beat. Then I shake it off and get back to counting. As the sun lowers, the infected stir at the edges. You can feel the day change by the way sound moves. Birds go quiet. Distant engines rumble and then cut. The air picks up a warm smell of trash and ash. I climb the ladder to the gate perch and scan. 2 walking dead stagger along the road, stop at the chain link at the median, and lean. One has dried stains down both forearms. The other drips fresh from the wrist and leaves a dark trail on the asphalt. A third crawls out from behind a stalled car and pulls on the bumper with both hands. No speed, but no quit. It is a steady grind. I motion to Rick on the ground. He nods, picks up the long pike we made from a rake handle and a bolt, and stands by. We let the first 2 bump the barrier. The bottles on the trip line clack. The sound is mild at first, then it sets off the line. Dogs start barking behind me. The second infected presses its face against the bars and smears the metal. Rick steps in, plants his feet, and pushes the bolt into the base of the neck with a steady shove. No drama, no shouting. In and out. He wipes the bolt on the grass and steps back. The first one flails, then drops to its knees, then tips over. We wait to make sure it stays down. The crawler reaches the shadow of the truck and tries to pull itself under. I hate the crawlers. They feel like traps. We block its path with a concrete paver and back off. We can deal with it when the sun is fully down and the street is quiet. I climb down and head for the roll call spot. The radio transmissions start to ping in on the hand crank set that Finn tuned. Short bursts, numbers, then a voice that sounds like it is coming from near the industrial park. It lists a frequency shift for midnight. It says a convoy aimed south got hit on the feeder road and is breaking apart. It warns of a surge of infected coming from the direction of the river. The voice does not ask for help. It gives information and signs off. Finn looks like he just found a map where there was none. He says we have a gap in the west fence near the storm drain. He wants to shore it up tonight. I weigh the risk. The generator window is tight, but the storm drain has kept me up 2 nights running. I say all right, we do it quick. We cut the lattice off the drain opening and bolt a grill across it. 2 of us hold a floodlight. 2 work the drill. Every spin of the bit feels like a torch in the dark. We set the bolts, tighten them until the grill hums with tension, and slam it with a sledge to be sure. Finn yells over the drill noise that he hears a faint echo from inside the pipe. We kill the power and listen. There is a drip. There is a hollow scrape, soft. The hairs on the back of my neck want to stand up. I keep my shoulders still. I start to say we are done here when something bumps the grill. Once, then twice. Not a frenzy, just pressure. I hold the sledge and meet eyes with Rick. Rick nods. We back off, slow, no sudden moves. We do not run because running is a message. Back at the cul-de-sac, we pull the truck across the gate and lock the chain. Lights out except for the pool glow. The night watch sets up. I sit with Luz at the med tent and log Hayden's temperature and pulse. The numbers are off by a little, not by a lot. His nosebleed stopped. He says he wants a comic book. Luz finds one in a donation box and slides it through the flap. His mother watches through the clear panel. She has not moved much in 2 hours. She stands like a statue no one wanted to make. I walk over and say we will take turns watching. She nods and swallows. Her hands are shaking, so I get her a chair. She says thank you in a voice so small I almost miss it. Near midnight, the radio crackles. A voice I do not know shouts over wind and engine noise. If you are near Orange Crest, avoid the feeder road. Repeat, avoid the feeder road. Then, the signal cuts. A few minutes later, the dogs at the south fence start up. I jog toward the noise with 2 others. Luz meets me halfway. On the other side of the fence, past the tarps, a thin line of Walking Dead moves from left to right. Not a herd. More like the slow spill from a bottle. They do not turn toward us, even when a dog barks. They drift past toward the west, toward the drain we just sealed. I feel a small knot of relief. Then I do not like that I feel it. Relief makes people slow. We split shifts and try to catch 2 hours of rest before dawn. I sit on my front step and sip water. I listen to the house breathe as it cools. My wife's shoes still sit by the door. I have not moved them. I told myself I would when I was ready. I am not ready. I am tired in a way that sleep does not fix. I go inside, check the lock, and lie down on the couch with the radio turned low on the coffee table. I close my eyes and wake to noise. It is smoke, not noise. The smell punches through the window glass and pulls me upright. I run outside. A soft orange bloom lights the sky beyond the cul-de-sac roofs. Not a transformer pop, something bigger. I grab the fire extinguisher and sprint toward the end of the street. The gazebo, the quarantine gazebo. Flames lick from the screen seams. The cloth roof is going fast. David is inside with his family, coughing, waving a blanket at the door. The door is tied shut with a plastic tie strap. Someone cinched it. Smoke pours out the gap. My chest feels tight. I do not think. I move. I cut the tie with my pocket knife, yank the frame open, and pull the mother clear. Luz and Rick drag the son by the armpits. The boy's hoodie slips, and his sleeve pulls back. His forearm is dotted with small dried spots. His eyes roll and fix on the line of grass. He is not tracking. Water, someone shouts. We do not have a hose connected out here. We stopped running water lines outside the pool zone because of leaks. Rick grabs a dirt rake and pulls smoldering debris down. Luz points to the shed. To the shed, she says, voice calm, tight. We move the family that direction, but a shout from the cul-de-sac stops us. The gate horn bleats in a long, ugly tone. I look at Luz. She looks at me. Then she grabs the mother, tells her to sit, and hands her a mask. She looks at me again. I nod. We split. She goes to Hayden. I go to the gate. At the gate, the truck is rocking. Someone is pushing from the outside. Bottles rattle along the line. I climb the ladder 2 rungs and peek over. A mess of bodies packs the road. Not a herd, but more than we have seen in a week. They must have followed the smoke. The closest pressed against the bars have stained sleeves and torn cheeks. The front bumper keeps them from slipping through. The crawler from last night is lodged under the axle and flopping an arm. I motion to Rick. He shoulders the pike and moves to the edge. "Stay off the bars," I say. "We do not want a splash." We have this talk every time. I force it anyway. We work as a pair. He strikes from an angle. I cover with the shovel to keep hands off the bars. We do not win points for neatness. We win by staying outside of reach and keeping the metal between us and fluids. We drop 3, then 4. The line thins. I risk a longer look up the road. There is movement near the feeder street. A dark knot of bodies bouncing in and out of view behind a line of cars. The knot shifts and points toward us. The sound comes a beat later, a rough chorus. Not speech, just sound. It rolls toward us down the street. Rick swears under his breath. I do not call him on it. The first to reach the barricade wears a delivery vest smeared with black streaks. He slams into the bars and hooks his fingers through. The second tries to climb the bumper. The third trips and knocks others forward. The front line crushes against the grill and squeals. Chain links rattle. The padlock holds. The 2x4s we jammed behind the posts groan. Every sound becomes a measurement. I count breaths between metal groans and match them against the calculus in my head. The numbers say the gate will hold for a while, not forever. We need to thin the line or redirect it. "Noise to the south," I say into the radio. "Bring the pan lid." Luz answers a quick yes. A minute later, a banging starts down the block, sharp and steady. The big stockpot lid on a shovel handle. It draws the front line sideways. Bodies peel off. The pressure eases. We take the gap and push more off the bumper. The crawler under the axle finally stills. The knot from the feeder street collapses in on itself. For a breath, I think we made it. Then a glass shatter pops from behind me. I spin. The shed window. Hayden's shed. The small acrylic pane we cut as a view square is cracked white. I run back across the neighborhood. Luz is already there. Hayden's mother is pressed to the side of the shed. Inside, Hayden is on one knee. He tried to stand and fell. There is fresh red on his upper lip. It dripped onto the plastic floor. He looks at his mother. She reaches for the latch. Luz catches her wrist. The mother screams short and raw, a bark that dies fast because she realizes she cannot pull free. Luz speaks, low and steady. She says we can still help him, but only if the rest of us do not get exposed. She says we need to move to full gear. She calls for the respirators and gowns. I sprint to the supply rack and pull the bin down. We buy time with layers and bleach. Sometimes that is the only currency you have. We suit up like we practiced. No gap wrist to glove. No gap face to mask. We move slow to avoid tearing the flimsy gowns. I crack the latch and step inside. The air is damp. The plastic floor crinkles. Hayden looks at me like I am a stranger stepping into his bedroom. I tell him I am right here. I tell him he is safe. He nods in a jerky way that says he is not processing everything. His mother calls his name through the plastic, voice softened by the layer. He turns his head that way and slips. I catch his shoulders and ease him to the cot. I check his pulse and write the number on the binder. Numbers make people feel like the ground is not falling away. We move him to the back corner and set a bowl within reach. Luz mixes oral rehydration salts with boiled water, cool enough to sip. I feed him a little at a time with a spoon because cups spill, and we do not need more fluids on the floor. Hayden swallows and nods once after each spoon. I set a timer on my watch for 10 minutes so I remember to stop and check again. It would be easy to push too fast because you want to fix it, but rushing makes people choke and choke makes people panic. You deal with what is in front of you, steady and simple. Outside the shed, the banging on the pan continues. Tighter rhythm now, like a metronome. The gate team radios that the flow is easing. Finn ducks under the tent flap with a coil of cable. He speaks fast. Gate surge came from the west. The drain is quiet now. I think the grill held. He stops when he sees Hayden and the bowls and the plastic bag of used cloths. He freezes. I wave him back with one finger. He backs up, eyes wide, and the tent flap settles. The next hour stretches. We hold the line at the gate. We hold the line at the shed. We hold the line with the gazebo family, now in blankets on the grass with masks on, while we soak the charred frame with buckets from the pool. David keeps saying sorry. The mother says nothing. The son sits with his hoodie drawn tight and stares at ants marching in a line across the pavement. His face is empty in a way that makes my stomach twist. I pull my eyes away and go back to hauling water. When the sun climbs high enough, the infected outside the gate start to drift into shade. They seek doorways, the undercarriage of cars, the small patches under trees. We use the lull to drag bodies with hooks to the grass strip where the sun hits hardest. We douse the ground with bleach solution. We do not bury because the soil is hard, and because digging brings out more than you want. We settle for distance and sunlight. Some days I stand under the shower with my clothes on and scrub until the water tank runs cold. Today I settle for a wash at the utility sink and a fresh shirt from the charity box. It smells like someone else's detergent. It is a smell from the old world and it makes me lightheaded. Afternoon heat presses down and makes everything sticky. We rotate the watch. I take a turn on the roof of my house with a pair of binoculars. From up here, you can see the city in full, the plume of smoke from the North Side Mall, and the old floodplain where water glints under the sun. A flock of birds turns as one above the park, and then breaks apart in a messy scatter. Not a pattern I like. I track the birds until they settle in trees far off. On the cul-de-sac below, movement catches my eye near the backyard where we left the compost pile. 2 men are there. One is Rick, the other is not from our block. Tall, wiry, hair shaved close. He is staring at the fence line. I key the radio. Unknown in Rick's yard. I climb down and cross the grass. The stranger does not spook. He turns slow when I call out. He keeps his hands where I can see them. He smiles in a way that does not reach his eyes. He says he is from 3 streets over. He says his group needs water and gas. And he heard we have both. He says he is willing to trade. He points to the wagon near the compost pile. My throat gets dry. It is the same tone I used to hear from kids who already copied homework and were asking for the answer key. I keep my voice even. I say, we do not have a market. I say, we are not taking in more families today. I say we can talk through the fence if he wants to bring a list, but there is no gas and water is rationed. He looks past me at the pool tarps. He nods, then looks at Rick like there is a side conversation he wants. Rick keeps his face blank, which is good. The stranger backs up, hands still visible, and promises he will be back with items to trade. He says he has antibiotics. Could be real. Could be placebo pills with new labels. He steps to the gap near the compost and glances down. His eyes pause on the wheel tracks from the wagon. I feel my jaw clench and force it to relax. He leaves the yard and walks the fence line until he disappears behind the houses. I do not like this. I do not like that he found a line of weakness with a glance. I tell Luz to keep the med tent full gear for the rest of the afternoon. I pull Finn aside and say no radio chatter on open mics for now. We keep it local. He nods fast, gets it. We do not broadcast our pulse to folks who would poke for a weak spot. We stick to hand signals and chalk. The older you get in a mess like this, the more you realize half the job is optical. You build the look of a place you cannot break. Even if you know where the glue lines run, you do not show them to strangers. Late afternoon, Hayden's temperature spikes. He sips water, then refuses. His hands feel warm through the gloves. He curls on his side. Sometimes he winces at sound. I speak in a low voice and keep steps slow and smooth. Luz flushes the shed seams with bleach again. The smell makes my throat sting through the mask. Hayden's mother paces 3 steps back and forth by the wall until she rubs a mark in the dirt with her heel. We keep the time log rolling, dose him with basic meds for fever, and stick to the plan. Sometimes that is what there is. Keep the plan. The gazebo family sits in a borrowed tent now that the gazebo is gone. David tries to help with water runs, but his son is shaking. Not chills, more like a spasm that moves through him every few minutes. I see it from across the circle and feel a spike of worry. I send Luz a look. She follows my eyes, then nods. We will move the family to a secondary quarantine spot, farther from the center. It will cause noise, and I am tired of noise. But I am more tired of surprises. I gather 2 volunteers and explain the route. We walk the family along the far fence toward the empty lot with the old cinder block shed. The son stumbles. His hood slips, and his sleeve rolls back to the elbow. His forearm is marked with new red threads that were not there this morning. I stop the line. My mouth tastes bitter. I ask when the spots appeared. The mother whispers, "After the fire." She grips the boy's shoulder. We reach the cinder block shed and set the family inside with clean water and food. I brace the door with a crossbar we made from a metal signpost. It is not a jail. It is a barrier against panic. I tell them we will check every hour. The father nods, eyes wet. He looks at me. He settles for a stare that goes through me. I can stand with that. He is angry and scared. So am I. Dusk crawls in. We light the perimeter lanterns just before full dark, then kill them in quick sequence to avoid drawing attention. We sit at the table across from the med tent with the map of the cul-de-sac spread wide. We pin notes to houses. We list who is on watch. We tally food for the next 2 days. I pencil in a plan to make a run to the construction site for more rebar once the city cools down. Rick says he will go. Luz says she will not let him go alone. I say no one goes alone. I look at Finn, who is pretending not to want to go. He has quick feet, good eyes, and zero sense of when to shut up around strangers. He is a perfect lookout and a perfect liability in a trade talk. I put him on radio follow instead. He looks crushed for a second and then nods. The storm hits after sundown. Not rain, wind. It pushes through the fence and rips at the tarps, pops the tripline bottles, and sends a plastic chair tumbling down the street. The wind turns the smells in the city and jabs them under our noses. Garbage, ash, the iron tinge that rides in when the infected are close. The dogs go low and growl. I pull my jacket shut and head toward the gate to check the chains. The metal sings under the wind. I tighten one lock and step back. A shape detaches from the shadow near the truck fender and lunges. I jerk back and smack my shoulder on the post. My light snaps on by reflex and throws a white wedge across a face inches from the bars. The face is wrong. The eyes are wrong. Not empty like most. Focused. It looks past me at the houses, not at me. It flicks its gaze to the chain, to the lock, to the gap under the bumper. My chest chills. I kill the light and drag in air through my mask. I call for a second watch at the gate. We hold in silence, listening to the wind, counting seconds between gusts, checking shadows with ears more than eyes. The focused one lingers for a long time, head tilting. It does not slam the metal. It tries the gaps with slow pushes. When it steps back, others move forward and bump without thought. It returns an hour later and tries again. The night stretches and stretches. Dawn cannot come fast enough. At first light, before we can settle the night watch into sleep, a scream tears across the cul-de-sac. Not from the gate, from the cinder block shed. I sprint that way with 2 others. The door is rocking against the crossbar. Inside, the mother is crying. The father shouts that he needs help. The son is on the floor, stiff, jaw working, eyes rolled. There is red at his nostrils now. The sight freezes the men behind me for half a second. Then we move. We pull the crossbar and step in with masks and gloves. The father reaches for us, hands slippery with sweat. His boy jolts and digs his nails into the concrete until they scrape. We roll him onto his side and keep hands clear of his mouth. We set a folded blanket under his head. The mother whispers prayers with her hands pressed to her face. I hear every word. After the spasm passes, the boy lies still. He blinks slow. He breathes through his mouth. He looks at the ceiling like the ceiling is a map. He asks for water. The mother moves. I catch her wrist and pass her a sealed bottle. She looks at my hand. She tips a little into her son's mouth. He swallows and closes his eyes. I ask the father about food, about symptoms, about timelines. He answers with short words and flat eyes. He is out of reserve. He has nothing left. I tell him we will keep watch and bring more water. I feel like I am lying even when I am not. By mid-morning, power lines down the road spark and pop. A pole leans, and a line hangs low over the sidewalk. We avoid that route and mark it with chalk. As I finish the mark, a shadow falls over the street. Not a cloud, a truck. A big box truck moving slow, nose heavy, tires splayed. It rolls to a stop at the feeder road and idles. The engine knock sounds tired. The driver door opens. The wiry man from yesterday exits and waves a clean towel. He stands with hands up. He calls out that he wants to talk trade. His voice is loud, round, trained. I bet he practiced. I call for a meeting at the gate. I keep the barrier shut. I keep 2 pikes low and ready. I ask what he wants. He says gas, water, and a safe place to park the truck for a few hours. He says he will trade antibiotics. He holds up a bottle with a label I cannot read from here. He also offers something else. He says he has a propane generator and a pallet of batteries. My brain tries to salivate. Instead, I ask where he got them. He says a hardware warehouse. He says no one else wanted the heavy items. He steps close enough that I can see the dirt in the creases of his palm. He smells like old motor oil and road dust. He smiles in that way again. I hate that smile. I say we do not trade gas. I say water is rationed. I say we could talk about the generator if he can show me it runs from a safe distance. He shrugs and says fine. He flips the door latch on the truck and calls to someone inside to bring the display out. The someone does not move. He calls again, smile still on for us, voice lower for the person inside. That is when I notice the fresh brown smear on the side rail of the truck. Not oil, not rust. The smile cracks at the edge. He calls again, and a figure moves into view in the shadow of the cargo box. Small shoulders, hair in a knot. A girl, maybe 13. She holds a toolbox under one arm. Her skin is pale. I do not like this at all. I step back from the gate and raise a hand. I tell him to keep the girl back from the door. I tell him to step away from the truck. I tell him no step inside our line without quarantine. His face flattens. He lowers the towel. He says he is not asking to move in. He just wants to park in the shade and do business. He says we are letting kids die in there for rules that do not matter. He points to the med tent. He wants a reaction. I do not give him one. I repeat the rule. Quarantine or move on. He stares at me in a long, slow burn. The girl shifts the toolbox and coughs one dry cough. My chest goes cold. I pull the mask tighter against my face like that would help. He swears and turns back to the truck. He slams the door and yells at the girl in a voice that strips the paint off the inside panels. He climbs up and guns the engine. The truck lurches and rolls forward down the road, back toward the city. He does not look back. The girl stares at us over her shoulder until the truck turns and she vanishes from sight. Rick exhales a long, thin breath. Luz says nothing. She is watching the shed and the med tent and the gate all at once. She looks like someone who drank a cup of tension and is waiting to see if it hits. By noon, Hayden stops answering questions. He keeps his eyes open and follows our faces, but he is far away. The fever chart looks like a hill climb. We cool packs in a tub and swap them in and out in steady rhythm so the plastic does not sweat and run. His mother's lips are cracked from breathing through a mask. I force her to sit and drink. She glares, then sips, then holds my hand for 1 second before pulling away. Luz checks his pulse and writes the number. Her pen shakes once when she dots a number, then steadies. She is the strongest person I know. She does not believe that. I tell her anyway. She rolls her eyes and keeps working. The afternoon brings heat and quiet. We wait. We watch. We sweat. We rotate. We clip batteries to lights and then unplug them again because we are hoarding charge. The radio stays mostly dead. A few distant voices mourn or rage. One repeats an address until the battery dies. Around 4, Finn pulls me to the side and whispers that he picked up a new burst from the same frequency as last night. This one mentions a reclaimer crew clearing houses just south of us. Not a government phrase, a scavenger phrase. Reclaimer sounds better than looter. I look at the fence. I look at the storm drain. The tightness in my shoulders says, get ready. We stage pikes and shields at the gate and by the back fence. We assign runners to the roofs with small radios and a bag of rocks for alarms. The kids go inside with 2 adults and a deck of cards. The idea is to keep small hands off latches and small minds off what might come next. Hayden's mother refuses to leave the shed, so we assign someone else to sit with her and swap out. The cinder block shed family sleeps in shifts, or tries to. The father nods off and jerks awake. The mother hums under her breath to the rhythm of her rocking. The boy stares at the wall and taps his fingers on his knee. Near sunset, we get visitors again. Not at the gate. At the back fence near the compost. 3 men, quiet, fast, wearing work gloves and mask scarves. They do not crash the fence. They test it with a flat hand, then cut the lower wire with a tool that barely clicks. They move like they practiced. The first slides under and stands in our yard. He is not the wiry man from earlier, but he carries the same energy. Eyes up, hands spread to show he is empty, voice smooth. He says hello. He says they will take water and gas and leave batteries and painkillers. He says he knows we have a sick kid and a scared group, and he says he does not want trouble. He says he is here to help us survive. I hold up my hands, palms out. I speak slow. I say, step back through the fence, and we talk through wire. He smiles and says, talking through wire is for enemies. He steps closer. Rick shifts his weight. Luz picks up a pike and does not bother to hide it. The man's smile slides a notch. He spreads his hands wider and says he will count to 10 and step back. But we should know he has more friends outside than we have pikes. He is not wrong. I hear movement beyond the fence line. I hear a cough that is not from us. I hear the soft tap of a boot on the slab at the corner. The heat behind my eyes goes cold. Stop, I say. You move back now, or we start throwing rocks, and you catch a mess of angry neighbors and dogs and pots and pans and worse. He laughs like he thinks I am telling a joke. Then he studies my face and stops laughing. He steps back to the fence slow, never turning. He lifts his chin at the wire cutters. The man under the fence rolls out and stands. I keep my hands up and my arms feel made of lead. We hold the pose, then a sound breaks it. Not a human sound. A choked, wet gargle from the cinder block shed. The boy in the shed is on his feet. His eyes are wrong. The mother reaches for him. The father yanks her back hard. The boy turns and slams into the door with his shoulder. The crossbar jumps. He hits it again. The wood creaks. A neighbor screams. The 3 men at the fence do not move for a heartbeat. Then the leader turns his head toward the sound. He smiles a small, quiet smile and steps back under the lower line. He taps the fence once with 2 fingers. Then he vanishes behind the hedge with his friends, quick and neat. We sprint to the shed. The crossbar splits. The door bangs open an inch. The father scrambles on his knees and tries to jam the bar back, swearing and crying. The mother claws at the air, then covers her face and wails. The boy slams the door again, and his shoulder leaves a smear. I do not think. I act. I grab the spare chain and wrap it around the handle and the post and pull it tight. I thread the link through and lock it with a padlock. The boy hits the door again, and the chain snaps tight against my hands, pinching skin under the glove. The sound he makes on the other side would turn a stronger stomach than mine. Luz stares hard at me, and then at the chain, and then at the parents. Her jaw sets. She looks older by a decade in 3 seconds. We back everyone away and clear the area. We set a second crossbar on the outside. We give the parents a choice. Watch from 10 feet and let us handle it, or go to the other side of the cul-de-sac and sit with an escort. The father says he will stay. The mother cannot decide. She walks a circle and ends up back in the same place. Luz guides her to a chair. We position pikes and shields in case the boy breaches the chain. We do not want to hurt him. We will if we must. This is the part where rules feel like bricks tied to your feet. You hold anyway. The shed door holds. The sun drops. Shadows take over the edges of houses. The wind dies. The cul-de-sac ears pick up the small sounds again. A dog scratching. A flag tapping the pole. The low hum of the pool pump we can run for 30 minutes on battery to keep the water from going swamp. Then, the horn at the gate bleats once. Just once. I frown. That is not our code. I jog to the gate. The tall hedge throws a deeper shadow now. For a second, I do not see the group at the end of the street. Then the tall one steps into the pool of light. Not the smooth trader. New faces. 5 of them. Two carry long sticks. One has a bat. One has a handsaw. They walk with a steady, easy pace, like they have all day. My hands go cold again. I key the radio. Visitors at the gate. 5. Luce answers that the shed is contained for now. Rick says he is on my left. Finn says he has the roof. I breathe and speak. I tell the group to stop at the chalk line. They keep walking. When they reach the line, they stop. The man in front smiles without showing teeth. He says he heard this block was organized. He says he likes organized places. He says organized places have things worth taking. He says share, and we do not have to break anything. He says we look tired. He is not wrong. I say no entry. He shrugs and looks over my shoulder at the houses. He says a fence is a fence. He says fences have back doors. Behind me, a bottle rattles on the trip line near the compost fence. My throat tightens. He hears it too. He grins. He says, "See?" and flicks his fingers. A small signal. Two of his men peel off down the side street. I do not want to split my team. I have to. I wave Rick toward the back. Finn calls out that he sees movement near the storm drain. My head feels like a map with a dozen pins all lighting at once. I keep my eyes on the man in front of me and talk to him like I am talking to an old friend who is about to make a bad choice. "Turn around," I say. "Walk away now. We will not follow. You come through. You will get hurt. We will get hurt. No one wins." He tilts his head like he is weighing if I mean it. He pulls a scarf up over his mouth. He tells the two in front to test the truck bumper. They push. The chain groans high. The padlock jumps and settles. The truck shifts an inch. I step forward and plant my shovel against the bottom rail as a brace. I fix my eyes on the man's hands. He realizes I am not moving. He grins and winks like we are in on a joke together. He nods to the man with the handsaw. The man slips to the side and starts pulling the blade against the chain. "Noise," Finn whispers on the radio from the roof. "Storm drain." The words land. I glance back. The grill we bolted last night shudders once. A pair of fingers pushes through the gap in the bars, where the weld did not take. The fingers are slick and bright in the half-light. They wiggle and grip. Then a palm presses. Then a face, eyes wide and glassy. A chin slides forward. The bars hold for 1 second. Then something deeper inside the pipe surges, and the weld pops with a crack that sounds like a branch breaking. My stomach drops. I do not think about the front men anymore. I shout to collapse on the west side. Luce is already moving, pike in hand, mask on, shield up. See. Rick sprints from the back fence, panting, eyes huge. He says two made it under the fence before he could block the gap. He says they ran toward the med tent. He looks like he wants to tear the skin off his own face. I grab the sledge and run. The storm drain grill bows and snaps. Bodies pour out. Not a stampede. A steady ooze of arms and heads and knees. Faces press to the concrete and push up with a practiced grind. The first reaches for my ankle. I swing and crush fingers against the lip. Bones pop. The hand retracts. I bring the sledge down on the forehead hard enough that my grip rings. I step back and reset, keeping my boots outside of reach. Luce plants the pike through the second's temple clean and yanks it free with a twist. We fall into a rhythm. No yelling, no wild swings. Work. At the gate, the front group tests the chain again. They do not get through. They also do not leave. They watch us fight at the drain with interest. The man in front steps back and lifts a hand to his mouth. He whistles. The sound slides over my neck. From the back fence, two more figures slip into the yard. Not his men. Infected. Fast ones. Jumpers. They take 3 leaps like spider monkeys and hit the side of the med tent. The plastic bows. The poles creak. Hayden's mother screams. The fast one slaps at the pole and slides down, then rears back for another shot. Rick bashes it with the shovel. The blow knocks it sideways. It shakes its head and bares teeth and lunges again. I shove the shovel under its chin and push up and back until it topples. Luce drives the pike and pins it to the grass. It kicks once and goes still. The second fast one darts for the shed. The chain holds the door, but the width of the gap is enough to wedge fingers through. The fast one presses its face to the gap and sniffs. then laughs a horrible sound that is not real laughter. It smears its cheek on the wood like a cat. My brain flashes with anger so fast I taste metal. I step forward and slam the pike sideways into its ear. It drops like a puppet with its strings cut. I grip the pike so hard my fingers ache and try not to shake. "Front group moving," Finn calls. I turn. The man at the gate sees his window closing and rushes. He hits the bumper with his shoulder. The chain jangles. The padlock holds, but one post shifts a half inch. He laughs and calls out to his men to push. I pull the flare out of my pocket. We swore we would save it for a last resort signal. This is last resort. I strike it on the grit strip and hold it. The red light washes the whole street in a bad dream. I toss it high over the gate, and it lands in the road on the far side. The infected that were drifting in the shade lift their heads and start to move toward the hard light. The front group curses at the sudden attention and steps back with hands up. The infected close in. The men at the gate look at me with furious eyes. I look back and do not blink. The flare buys us 2 minutes. We use both. We shove a second chain through the truck frame and the post and lock it. We brace the post with concrete blocks. We pull a second pickup across the lane at an angle. Wheels turned hard, steering wheel chained to the frame. It is ugly. It works. The men outside realize the window is closed. They back off, shouting that this is not over. No kidding. They fade down the street and vanish behind the tired trees. The infected swirl and then lose interest as the flare dies. The light fades. Darkness comes back. We stand still for a long count and breathe. I grip the pike and look at the shed. The door is quiet. The father sits on the grass with his head on his knees. The mother stares at the chain and does not blink. Luz rests her forehead on the back of her wrist for 1 second and then stands straight. We start moving again. We clean the area around the drain with bleach and drag the worst of the bodies with hooks to the sun strip for mourning. We reset the fence line at the compost with more wire and 2 fresh boards. We put a volunteer on the roof with a headlamp to sweep the backyards every 5 minutes. We run the pool pump for exactly 10 minutes and shut it off again. We sip water and do not talk. When the clock hits the hour, the radio crackles with the shortwave schedule. Finn whispers, "Quiet." We listen. A male voice lists numbers, then a phrase, "West neighborhoods under pressure, drain routes compromised, avoid storm culverts." The voice fades, then returns. Medical tents marked with white tarp are being targeted by fast types. I feel the skin on my arms tighten. Someone else is watching the same pattern. The voice gives coordinates we cannot use and signs off with a line about saving batteries. Finn looks at me like he wants me to say something wise. I tell him the truth. This is going to get worse before it gets better. He nods like he already knew and needed to hear it anyway. The night creeps in. We pull kids inside and lock doors. We sit with the parents by the shed in shifts. We tune the radios low. We reduce light to slivers. For a while, even the dogs stop complaining. The silence is not peaceful. It is like holding your breath after you pass a wreck on the highway. I check the gate one more time, then walk the back fence. I pause at my own back door and look in at the shoes by the mat. A house is a museum now. Every object is a piece of a life that is not here. I picture my classroom, the way students would slump into their chairs on rainy days, the way a chorus of groans would meet any surprise test. I wonder how many of them made it out. I do not let the thought sit long. There is work. Near dawn, the shed door creaks. A soft thump follows. The father jerks awake and stands. The mother grips the chair so hard her knuckles go bloodless. The chain does not move. We hold still, listening. A low voice comes from inside. The boy is speaking. He says he is thirsty. He says his head hurts. He says he feels cold. He sounds like himself. My heart jumps and then slams to a dead stop. I look at Luz. Her face is stone. She shakes her head once, barely. Not yet. We run through the steps. We don gear. We unlock the chain. We open the door 3 inches. Luz passes a bottle through. The boy's fingers wrap it. The nails are normal. He drinks 3 sips, slow, steady. He says thank you. The word is broken, but it is a real thank you. I feel my knees want to give. I lock the chain again. We step back. We wait another hour. Morning light lifts the edges of the roofs. The pool tarp shines. The tripline bottles sit still. The city haze spreads thin. For a minute, the cul-de-sac looks like a regular neighborhood. Then, a sound cuts through that picture. The gate chain snaps. The sound is sharp and high and final. I spin and run. The fresh chain on the truck frame hangs limp. The lock is on the ground, cut through. The post is wedged back with a steel bar. The front group did not leave. It hid. They are through the gap and moving fast. 3 men and a woman with a hatchet. Behind them, a scatter of infected lurch on cue to the sudden noise. The men rush the pantry garage. The woman angles for the med tent. My mouth opens, and words fly. Positions, calls, names. The drills kick in, not because we are brave, but because drills are all we have. I meet the first man at the edge of the patio with the shovel. He sees the pike in my other hand and thinks he can rush inside my reach. He is wrong. I slam the flat of the shovel into his knee and he buckles. I step in and shoulder him into the hedge. He throws an elbow that glances off my forearm. He grabs for my mask. I bite down on fear, lower my head, and drive him back with pure stubborn weight. He stumbles and goes down. Rick catches the second man with the rake pike, not a killing blow, a warning jab in the ribs that knocks wind and takes the charge away. The man wheezes and swings the bat without control. Rick ducks and drives a knee into his thigh. He yelps. The woman with the hatchet reaches the med tent. Luce steps between her and the plastic flap with the shield up. The woman swings once, testing. Luce meets the hatchet with the shield. The sound is a dull thud and a ringing echo that runs up my spine. Luce kicks the woman in the shin, hard, and the hatchet dips. The woman swings again, sloppy now. Luce steps inside the arc and shoves the shield into her face. The woman stumbles and falls on her backside. The hatchet skitters under a car. Luce plants one foot on the woman's wrist and keeps the shield ready. Her face is calm. At the pantry garage, the third man lifts the door. He is halfway under when Finn, who was on the roof, drops a brick tied to a rope. It lands on the man's shoulder blade and he screams. Finn yanks the rope and the brick jumps up for another drop. The man scrambles backward and rolls, eyes wild. He looks up and sees a skinny teen with a bike helmet glued on with duct tape and a pair of binoculars around his neck. He laughs once, short. Then Rick's boot hits his ribs, and the laugh dies. The infected that followed the noise reach the gate and pile against the bars. The chain is down, but the truck still blocks the worst. 2 slip through the gap at the side. One is missing most of a wrist. The other has a tie still around his neck. They stagger toward the closest moving thing, which happens to be the man whose knee I hit. He tries to scramble away, hands leaving smears. He cries out. The infected step on his hand and keep moving toward the sound of Luce and the woman. The man rolls and crawls under a planter and whimpers. I do not have room in my head for sympathy. We keep pushing the intruders back toward the gate, yard by yard. The father from the cinder block shed steps into the yard with a length of pipe in his hands. His face is a mask of grief. He swings at one of the intruders with a sound that rips air. The pipe connects. The intruder goes down and does not move. The father stands over him and shakes. He does not swing again. He lowers the pipe and starts crying with his mouth open and no sound. The mother sits on the grass with her feet out and rocks. The boy in the shed moans once, soft, the sound of a person waking up from a bad dream. We push the last of the front group out through the gap and slam the truck door tight. Rick jams a new chain through the frame. Luce ties a rope tight and leans her full weight on the knot. The men outside gather and stare through the bars with faces hot with hate and fear and something like respect. The woman with the hatchet limps and holds her wrist. She spits toward the gate. It falls short. They back up as the infected pour at them from the side street drawn by the fresh struggle. The front group breaks into a run and disappears behind the trees. The infected slap the bars and slide along the metal. I step back 2 paces and try to slow my thinking. We stand in a shaky ring and do a quick head count. Finn holds up both hands and grins a tight grin that dies quick. Luz breathes through her nose and rolls her shoulders. Rick laughs once and then coughs. The father from the shed leans on the pipe and looks at me. I can keep us moving. I can hold us together with lists and rope and rules. I can keep us standing up 1 more hour. Sometimes 1 more hour is all you can aim for. I go to the shed and talk to the boy through the door. He answers with slow words. He says his head is muddy. He says his arms feel heavy. He asks for his mother. I tell him she is right outside. I do not open the door. I cannot do that yet. I slide a fresh bottle of water through the gap and a cup of broth. He drinks slow. He whispers, "Thank you again." His mother presses her forehead to the door and sobs in small, controlled bursts that break me in ways I do not have language for. I put my palm on the wood. My glove squeaks. I leave it there a second longer than I should. Then I step back because I have to. We clean the blood from the patio with bleach and rinse water. We scrub the scuff marks where the bat hit the concrete. We retrieve the hatchet and lock it in a bin. We tie the back fence with a new run of wire. We set nails in the rails and string more bottles. We empty the compost because the smell draws more than raccoons. We feed the dogs and let them sit in the shade with bowls of ice water for a minute because they earned it. We set the whiteboard for evening roll call and add 2 new lines. Back fence watch, storm drain grill, double plate. We do not talk about the stranger girl in the truck. We do not talk about the focused face at the gate that tested the chain. We do not talk about the way the fast ones found the medical tent first. We do not have energy for theories. We have energy for fixing what is in front of us and preparing for the next push. We keep our world small. The cul-de-sac is the world right now. The voices on the radio are ghosts. The city is a heat shimmer. At sundown, we gather again. We say names. We log tasks for morning. Someone brings out a small plate of sliced peaches from the box with the heart on it and passes it around. Each of us takes one and eats it slow. The syrup sticks to my tongue. It tastes like a day in the old world. I want to cry. I swallow instead. The night air cools. The dogs settle. The pool tarp lifts and falls. Soft. We hold the silence together for 1 minute. Then I break it because leaders talk when the world is quiet to remind people the world still has voices. We held, I say. We will keep holding. We have drains to plate, fences to shore up, food to move. We have 2 more days of rice before we get creative. We have the means to get more rebar if we go early. We will go with 4 and return with 6. No one moves alone. No one breaks quarantine. We let no one in without the gazebo. Not for a generator, not for a miracle cure, not for clever words. If you disagree, speak now, and we will argue it out while the sun is still up. Heads shake. No one speaks. Not because there is nothing to say, but because we are too tired to fight each other. I will take that as consent and call it a win. I end my patrol the way I started my day, at the gate, checking the chain with sore hands. I press my palm to the truck hood. The metal holds the sun's heat like a low fever. Beyond the bars, the road is empty for the first time since morning. The city hum is a low throb. I can live with that. I look back at the cul-de-sac. Houses crouch under the trees. The med tent glows with a soft light. The shed is quiet. The pool tarp barely moves. Finn sits on a roof with the radio dialed down, eyes scanning. He salutes with 2 fingers without looking at me. The kid drives me crazy and keeps us connected. I would put him in a glass case if I could. I sit on the ladder platform and let my feet dangle while the air shifts cooler. I touch the chain again. I whisper my wife's name. I do not expect an answer. I get up, finish the checklist, and turn toward the houses. I am a small man on a small street holding a line made of scavenged parts. But it holds. It held today. We will make it hold tomorrow. And if tomorrow breaks, we will build a new line 2 feet back and hold that one. That is the job. That is the whole story right now. Keep breathing. Keep the rules. Keep the people. Night lands. The wind softens. The radio clicks twice, then an empty hum. I key the mic and give our code, just once. Quiet. I say, Orange Crest neighborhood. Alive. The words hang under the stars. The reply comes through a minute later, thin and warm. Copy. Alive. I clip the radio to my belt, pick up the pike, and walk back into the cul-de-sac to make another round. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep the stories alive. For now, stay quiet, stay vigilant, and stay alive. Jack's Nightmares, signing off. Until next time, survivor.